Hello, welcome back to the Worship Leader Toolbox podcast. So happy today to have you join us as we talk about starting something new. It can really be a boost to your ministry to start something new. And many churches are experiencing a freshness of doing things even during this COVID pandemic. For some, going online was an adaptation from scratch. You had to pull things together just to get that going. For others, though you might have been well-versed in the digital world, you're now doing ministry solely through digital means. Either way, we are in a whole new arena of ministry. And whether it's a whole new shift like we're experiencing now, or maybe as simple as just a new idea or a new component to engage people, starting something new can really have great effects on your ministry. And so I thought we could talk about it a little bit today from the standpoint of worship. And these are the ways that starting something new can have an effect. When we begin something new, it boosts creativity. As you think of those new things, you're going to boost creativity in yourself and in your people. It will encourage people to learn new skills and new ways of doing things. And as you talk together and try something unknown, maybe even just as simple as a new song, you'll be inviting people to boost their creativity. And who knows what might come from it. As we are boosting our creativity, one of the things that we begin to understand is that a new idea or a new process or a new system or a new creative approach comes to the top, and we begin to visit about it, and the ideas begin to spur on other ideas. So as you talk with others and as you lead together with your team, which is a huge part of ministry, is pulling people together. Don't feel the burden of having to do everything on your own. But as we work together with other people who have investment in our ministry with us, we are able to begin to boost creativity in each other. And it rises farther than any of us can do on our own. The definition of true synergy. In our worship ministry, we, about a year ago or so, pulled together what we call the Worship Team Council. And the goal of this group was just to meet together on somewhat of a regular basis, not every week or anything, but here and there to discuss the direction we're heading and where we need to go, and in a lot of ways a sounding board for each other to help sharpen our goal together. And so starting something new will boost that creativity in other people in your team. The second thing that starting something new can do is create momentum. Whenever we begin a new process or a new system or add something new to our ministry, it helps create momentum. And it takes energy to get something new off the ground, but this energy will also energize your leaders and your participants and the people who are participating, the congregation who will be a recipient of a worship team that is beginning something new. When I talk about creating momentum, it might be in the area of technological stuff. So take that for an example, since most of us are living in that world right now. About 3 years ago now, maybe 4, time flies when you're having fun, but we kind of put down a mandate to ourselves that we were going to go all digital, that in terms of music for our team, that everything was going to be on iPads and online, and that we weren't going to have any more paper copies of anything around. And for the most part, that's happened. Between the projection screen on the back wall for the worship team to see and the iPads for the worship band to use, we really don't have much paper around on the stage at all, or in the works of the worship team. And that created some momentum that kind of propelled us into shifting gears on other things to move from the stage, like the wedge monitors. And so I don't remember the exact month or year of that, but slowly but surely we moved into in-ear monitors. And this is a process that kind of just has continued on. And the in-ear monitors moved into utilizing some clicks and some backing pad sounds that moved eventually into backing tracks with Ableton. And each of those little steps along the way created momentum. And it kept building and snowballing. And pretty soon you look around and you're in a totally different place than you were, all from starting one little thing new. So it boosts creativity, it creates momentum, and starting something new develops leaders. When leaders are around you, they automatically have a desire to make things better. And One of the best ways to develop a leader is to help them to grow in taking charge and taking control of what might need to happen. If somebody has an idea in your group and they come to you all excited, one of the best things that you can say, as I heard from Andy Stanley one time, is say wow and then start with the how. Don't automatically squash the great idea by starting with how, but just say wow and then begin to talk and converse with that person. And over the process of them dreaming and thinking of ways to better the ministry and move the ball forward, you're helping to develop their leadership skill by giving them an opportunity to serve in that role, to take part in whatever it was, the initiative they brought up to start with. You develop leaders because you're giving more people opportunity to serve in meaningful areas. In the aspect of digital stuff that we're going through in online presence for worship in churches across North America, it's developed a lot of leaders. A lot of people have had to step forward and either learn or to use skills they already had to help pastors and church leaders put forth their presence in their communities and their congregations. And that's happened in our church as well. And so new leadership has been developed during this season. The next reason to start something new, and the last one on this list, is that it utilizes other people's gifts. There are a lot of gifts in your church and in your team, and many we've uncovered and we're using. And in worship ministry, this is usually pretty obvious because they're on the stage and they're serving on the weekend worship services. But there are also other gifts that haven't been uncovered and they're not being invested. And people need the opportunity to use their gifts, to be motivated by getting a part, becoming part of something. And most often that will be the new thing. I heard a quote one time that in terms of small group ministry in churches, that new people aren't attracted to existing groups. And that might be the same for ideas and initiatives and ministries, that new people might be most attracted to something that's beginning new, afresh, and getting off the ground. I think that's one of the appeals for church plants, is that it's ground zero. It's an opportunity for everybody to use their gifts in one way or another to accomplish the mission. And you can create other ways to allow people to use their gifts. Every church has what they need in their church to do what God has called them to do in their region right now. And so be on the lookout for those. Starting something new can boost creativity, create momentum, develop leaders, and utilize others' gifts. So how do you start something new? Well, one tip might be to get down to the root of your ministry. Why are you serving in this way? Why do you lead in your church? Why are you doing what you're doing? When you begin with the why, you get down to the nitty-gritty, regaining clarity of when you began and what new things might emerge like they did when you first started. When you first started in ministry, it required taking some risks and following a passion, and new things were birthed from that you could never imagine. And sometimes as those go on, we start becoming comfortable in the regular rhythm and the regular systems. And asking those questions can break us out of the mold. The second way that we can start the process of starting something new is to look for needs. What are the needs that you can meet? What are the needs in your area and among your ministry and in your team? Out of this, new things are often born. Don't be afraid of failure. That is one of the keys to taking initiative and starting something new. But jump in and do your best and think of something new. Challenge yourself to just create something new for this fall when we finally get things going again and back to whatever the new normal is going to be. It will benefit you and it will benefit the whole church. A couple thoughts here of things that we've started that are new. And as I've already mentioned, going through this pandemic, most all churches are in some type of new things. But here's a couple that we've started. One is over the last 7 weeks of meeting at church to produce the service live on Sunday morning, we've had to start a new band structure. We've adhered to the mandate of 10 people or less. And as a result, we have 3 tech people, 2 people in preaching and worship ministry, and then 5 people in the worship band. And That's kind of been a new approach to serving in ministry. Also in our church, we started something new during this season called the Daily 416, which is a 15-minute devotion or worship time led by some church leaders and staff members, designed just to connect and encourage our congregation. Our pastor dreamed up this idea based on 2 Corinthians 4:16, and it's really been awesome. And we've learned that the content is really important, but consistency is just as important. So people in our church have really looked forward to those afternoons. A couple other new things that are taking root as we have been in this season. One is this very podcast, the Worship Leader Toolbox podcast that we have been talking about and have started, but then kind of didn't continue on with it, and now we're starting it again, and so that's been awesome. We've started some kids worship service videos that are now available, and in general, we have been thinking of ways that our ministry can reach and serve and connect. We're all going to be in the midst of starting new things very, very soon as we start this re-engaging and moving back toward gathering again. And when that happens, there are going to be a million new ways of ministry, from putting together cleaning teams to changing our style of hospitality and greeting and serving, refreshments and meals, and people meeting at the church on a regular basis and where they'll park and how they'll sit. And it's going to be an onslaught of new things in just a few more weeks. And so we need to get in the habit of deciding that we are going to think of ways to start something new. And in the process of starting those new things, we're going to trust that God is at work in them. One final thought on starting new things. We always want to hold on to new things lightly. Some new things we start will, really be in our hearts and minds, and then they'll come out and we'll unveil them, and they don't go over, or they go over a while and then they're done. And that's fine. We utilize what we can. They're all vehicles for accomplishing the main gospel mission. And so use them while you can. And when they're done, that's fine. Other times we might start something new that we would never expected to take off in such a way. And so in those cases, most often, we're the catalyst for something that becomes a movement that the whole church picks up, possibly. And so either way, we want to hold it lightly so that we don't get discouraged trying to hang on to something that isn't working, and so that we don't get discouraged trying to hold on to the credit for something that is. In all ways, we give God glory, and we jump in and take a risk and begin something new. Thank you for joining us on the Worship Leader Toolbox podcast. We would love to have you rate this podcast and share it with others who might find it helpful. And we would also appreciate it if you'd like to sponsor this podcast. You can find information in the show notes. We are grateful for your ministry and your connection, and we hope to be of help to you. Love to connect with you on Facebook at Worship Leader Toolbox or on the website worshipleadertoolbox.com. We'll see you next time. Thanks.